Here's the thing. Right now, you cannot start with what regulations do I need to comply with. That's not your starting point right now, because AI regulation, laws, and compliance are all in the middle of changing. And none of them have thought it all the way through. Does it actually work? Is the liability on the right person? Should OpenAI be more responsible? Should I use it inside my company, be more responsible if something happened when I use ChatGPT? All of those things are changing and figure out. You can't just look at the law and be like, okay, are we good on this one? Good. Are we good on this one? Good. Are we good? That's not where you start. The backstop is literally at your company. I go, this is the point where I know nothing happens. This is my safe. Then
some leaders talk about digital transformation like it's a future goal. Yuying Chen-Wynn has been living it for 20 years across 4 continents. She's a former Microsoft, MIT alum, and ex-chief product officer and head of AI who's led global transformation. Today, she's the founder, managing director of Wittingly Ventures, where she has helped executives harness AI to reimagine how their businesses run. Yuying's work blends deep technical expertise with strategic foresight, helping leaders not just keep up with the change, but shape it. In this episode of the Executive Connect podcast, we're diving into how AI is transforming industry's leadership and the way we think about innovation. Welcome, Yuying.
thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
Now, you've worked across 4 continents, advised PE firms, private and public companies, and held executive leadership roles. I'm just going to pause on that because that's a lot. A lot. So talk to me a little bit. How did global and cross-industry expertise lead you to where you are today in AI transformation?
I will have to say there's a lot of luck involved. So coming out of MIT when the entire .NET boom was happening afforded me opportunities to kind of take on what you normally don't get to take on right out of college. So there's a really bit of luck on the timing. So when you start at Microsoft in Windows, working for Bill Gates, you kind of get a little bit of an open door. Now the global piece, I love the travel. I'm sure you do. I was in some ways when you're young, you kind of look for opportunities for your own interests. I look for opportunities to travel, and I had the opportunity to join a Canadian company as acquired by a French company at the same time. And my question during the interview was, wait, do I get to go to Paris as a work trip? They're like, yeah, probably. I was like, sign me up. So I traveled to Paris for work. I got paid for it and got to understand the European market. I moved back to China, worked across Asia Pac, and was able to travel. Some of that motivation was probably not for global transformation, but it gave me this view. So across the Americas, across Europe, across Asia Pac, and then because I made so many international connections with the expats, I consulted for companies in Africa on emerging edtech. I was like, wow. But a part of the travel led me to the global experience, which actually helps you see transformation very differently, because each culture, in terms of the internal workings, what works and what doesn't work, your assumptions just kind of break up, and which allows you to really rethink what can and can't be done, what can and doesn't work. And on top of that, the US workforce is so diverse. So all of those experiences kind of just came to play in terms of first just around being able to deal with a global workforce and culture. And then when AI happened, of course, that kind of just naturally added to that piece of the expertise.
Ready to lead smarter and invest wiser? On the Executive Connect podcast, we unpack executive strategies for wealth and influence. Hit the subscribe button now. Don't just watch, act. I love it. And I love that you mentioned Paris for a work trip. It's so great to travel to these amazing countries on somebody else's dime, especially when we're young, still figuring ourselves out. It really changes the way you look at work and life young. And I feel like you become such more of a well-rounded employee executive because you're dealing with different culture, different time zones, different people, different experiences. So I love that you mentioned that because I thought the same thing young in my career. I
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about AI as a strategic advantage. I know it's everywhere. Everybody's talking AI all the time. Um, Everybody's publishing books, writing articles at a crazy fast speed these days. But I know you talk about AI as an actual business fundamental enabler. What does that shift look like for companies when they actually put that into practice?
Yeah. So the thing I say what's different about this technology. So we use AI across way too many technologies to lump all together. The fundamental shift is this um, new type of AI that's generative AI, where you're able to talk to super intelligence and tech using natural language, right? So this natural language piece, where I go talk to the machine like a human, that's the fundamental not only enabler, but breaking down the barrier to entry of what technology and super intelligent models can do for you, because that just opened it up not to the developers, the data scientists, the researchers, right? That is a very small population. When it's a fundamental business enabled, because literally every single person from the front desk to janitorial to your AI research can now have their work be better, be faster, have more information, have a better starting point. And there's never been a technology that came in that goes literally, like I see what my front desk people, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And that totally helps your job, and across the board. And you don't even have to do any customization. You can literally go, here, I'm going to give you a secure version of ChatGPT. And suddenly everybody can make their job better. That switch, that has never happened before, right? So what I say is, one of the reasons I realized this much earlier than most, I came from ed tech for language learning. We already have the idea that language is power, right? But I think a lot of the more technical don't make that switch, that the ability purely to be able to talk like a person, which now you don't even have to type text. You don't even have to be literate. You can speak, that lower that barrier even more, democratizes it even more. It speaks multiple languages even more, right? So your entire population, even if they're not literate, can have access to something that gives them better information, better judgment, and faster creation. So that is as fundamental as it gets.
I love that you mentioned the talk. I'm just now getting used to that. I don't know. It's because my fingers are tired of texting on my phone or typing, and now I'm going to the talk. I love
Right?
it. It's unbelievable how convenient everything is anymore. And friends of mine that started businesses that would have never been able to hire and staff and get up and going as fast. It's just amazing what's going on. So I want to talk a little bit about leading transformation now. Again, back to the global scale. You've done it many times across the world. What are some of the biggest lessons that leaders need to learn before they attempt one in the era of AI?
Wow. This was a big one. I
Well,
was like, oh, I was like, where do I start? This one, so I'm going to start actually on empathy. I think we talk about it across the board for any kind of transformation, but the empathy still comes to the biggest piece. Now, this one, what I just said, is a fundamental enabler. Everybody should be so excited, but there's also a lot of fear, resistance, and right, there's a lot of things we don't understand about this, and a lot of this fear about what does this mean to me, and is it going to be good or bad in terms of that impact, that is like bubbling underneath everybody, whether or not they say it out loud, right? So this is a very fast shift, very sudden. People haven't had time to get used to it or truly understand what it means to me. That empathy piece right now, you have to start with empathy. You don't get to just kind of pilot, roll it out, and see what happens later. Because I have seen it. Even when I come in, there were people who you can tell, even in kind of the meetings, they have this wall. And if you can get to talk to them one to one, they literally said, but if I try to do anything with AI, that means you can replace me with AI. Right. And I'm just like, oh my God, that doesn't mean that at all whatsoever. And I'm so happy for the person that was willing to say that out loud, because it helped me understand that the mindset for some of this that you're approaching this, a lot of them won't tell you, but this is what's behind it. And you will find the resistance. You're like, this is so much better for you. Why aren't you trying it? Why, are you resisting? But you turn up that empathy, get somebody to actually tell you what the concern is, you'll have a far better starting point than else. So it, like every single transformation, like no matter what, you cannot over index on understanding what the fears might be for whatever change that you think is better for them and for everybody else, if you don't speak to their fears.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, because I think there's so much in that. People fear things because they don't know. They're used to things being a certain way, consistent. But we're in a world that is changing so fast. And so it's kind of a muscle that we need to get used to. But being able to understand, like you said, is so true. It's so true in leadership and developing products.
Yeah. And I found that I actually spent the successful ones. If you look at what the leaders spend their time on, they spend 80% of their time, the leader themselves, talking and listening. So whether it's town halls, road shows, one-on-ones with executives, with individuals, if you're leading this and your 80% isn't literally talking and helping me understand what the others are thinking versus you just like kind of talking out, I can predict that your success likelihood is not going to be high. That's what you're indexing on, the 80% that you spend speaking and listening.
Yeah, I think it's so true. I want to switch gears and talk. I'm really interested in the ethics and risk side of AI these days. I know a lot of companies are, like you were saying, issuing people their own chat GPT tool to use, but they're taking a lot of company data and plugging it in to their tools. This episode is brought to you by Summit Ventures. If you're an accredited investor, Summit gives you access to one of the greatest tax advantage opportunities: direct ownership in oil and gas. Their projects deliver what they call the triple play: cash flow, equity growth, and powerful tax benefits. And here's the best part: these investments qualify for 1031 exchanges. That means you can roll gains from real estate into energy while deferring capital gains. To learn more and get a free white paper, Oil and Gas Demystified, just visit www.summitven.com/executive connect. So let's talk about, like, everybody's adopting AI fast, but they're not putting the guardrails up on how to use it. How can we use it? Or should we put company or client information in it? So I'd love to get your perspective on how leaders should look at AI governance, biases, ethical use, risk, all those kind of pieces.
Yeah. So this is one technology that I say the guardrails have to be up first before anything. It doesn't have to be complete guardrails, but you have to have what I call the backstop, where you just know nothing goes beyond this. You have to have one before you even look at, oh, people can use ChatGPT. It's free. Why not? You have to have one backstop before you look at anything. So I literally start all of mine. I start my meetings with the chief compliance, chief privacy, chief legal officer. And then I bring in the CIO. Okay, I need one backstop. That means no matter what, things don't go beyond this. here's the thing. Right now, you cannot start with what regulations do I need to comply with. That's not your starting point right now, because AI regulation laws and compliance are all in the middle of changing. And none of them have thought it all the way through. Does it actually work? Does it, is a liability on the right person? Should OpenAI be more responsible? Should me, I use it inside my company, be more responsible if something happened when I use ChatGPT? All of those things are changing and figure out. You can't just look at the law and be like, okay, are we good on this one? Good. Are we good on this one? Good. Are we good? That's not where you start. So the backstop is literally at your company. I go, this is the point where I know nothing happens. This is my safe. Then you start to go, okay, what do I actually want the AI? Okay, so if I want everybody to be able to have quick answers based on our internal knowledge, how do I guard that piece? You have those discussions at the same time, and then you implement case by case. But I always put in a broad global company wide stop first, right? Even now, I've some of the extremes when people come and go, okay, block out all AI to start with. I can tell you, number one, from a CIO perspective, they can't. They literally technically can't. Um, but so what is that? What is that backstop? Maybe it's like, okay, we're just gonna block upload of files larger than a certain size. So those are the things to work out, but this is one of those things where you have to put in the global backstop first before you start to look at adoption of use cases.
Yeah, and I love you said a couple things in that. I think it's so important to bring everybody around the table because each division within a company, HR, IT, marketing are using AI in a different capacity and their partners or the other tools that they're using they're already implementing AI. So I love that you said CIOs actually cannot not because it's spot on because they a lot of the products they're using, whether it be cybersecurity or other tools, they're all using AI and machine learning right now. And so they can't not do it. So I love what you said. I think it's so true. Getting everybody in the room and what are we trying to accomplish here? And what are our risks? And what are we concerned with our employees having, taking, using, and layering that as an entire executive leadership team is so true. I think I see it a lot of times where it's just IT or it's just legal or it's just the CEO. And that's, in my opinion, an immediate way to fail with this. So I love that you brought that up. I think it's so true. I know when I think about the future of AI, AI to me when I was a kid was the Jetsons. I like that
Oh,
was
I love
AI
the
to me.
Jetsons. I love
I
Rosie.
same. Like I know when I was young, I would watch this. I'm like, oh my gosh, it'd be so great to put my food in the microwave, push a button, and I'd have this amazing dinner. And so when I think the future of leadership in the AI, like my brain automatically goes to the Jetsons. And so let's talk about how it's changing work and what skills leaders need to thrive in a world of AI and technology today.
Yeah. So there's a couple of ones, and I have to tell you that I've come to this by trial and error. There was no easy way, right? We would tend to think, oh, AI technology, you want people that are really smart, have a technology background, and I'm sure they'll do well. Not the case. So the depth of AI technology or technology background actually is not an indicator with whether or not you will thrive. So, a couple of things. So, number one, adaptability, right? So, one of the things that's happening with this AI technology, but not just AI alone, if you see the speed of change of major revolutions, the period of time it takes is that getting shorter and shorter. Okay. So the adaptability, when we say people haven't gotten time to get used to it, the ones that are the most adaptable when something this fundamental changes, they can wrap their head around it in 3 to 6 months. That level of adaptability at a leadership going, oh, wait, okay, I think the world has changed. Cool. Okay, let me figure out. And I can figure out in 3 to 6 months. That's key. When I say adaptability, that time frame is getting mature. You don't have 5 years to figure it out. Lifelong learning. So I obviously I come from like a decade in ed tech because I love learning. I'm actually one of those people. If I stop learning in a job, I cannot go on. I move jobs because I have stopped learning. I am wired that way. But when I said some of this, like even with 20 years of tech experience, they look like they've done all these things. They don't thrive. They have stopped the ability to continue to learn in their 40s and 50s. That is not going to work. This continuous learning and the fact that the more you learn, the more you want to learn, that is a key. That like the ones I've seen that is thriving, you're like, they don't really have AI background. Why are they doing so well? You see what they do in their off time. They're like, I'm listening to this podcast. I actually try to vibe code it. I'm just like, oh my God, really? You're the head of data like for the Agriculture Commission and you vibe coded something on the weekend? But that's the guy that's going to thrive. You're like, oh my God, you deal with what? And you did what? Right. So the continuous learning and the other one, I call it the tinker. So it kind of goes to the continuous learning. You don't just listen to podcasts. You don't just read everything that comes through. That's a big, and you go, I wonder if I could do it. You go tinker, you try things out at home. You like all the tools that I love it when people go, I have a knack for breaking things. I'm like, yes, that means you've tried it because you don't have a knack for breaking things if you didn't try it. Right. So those are the three that I've found. And like some of these more traditional, we're like, look at their background. They're from this big college. They have all this university. They have from this big logo. They're McKinsey. That is not indication. It's the three so far that I've seen of adaptability, and there's a speed to it, the continuous learning and the tinkering that makes it. And of course, sorry, I just realized I've left out empathy, which was this four.
Yeah, and I think, gosh, so true. I think the continuous learning is so key. I don't know if it's just me or, my engineer brain or my, ADD personality, but I have to read multiple books at the same time. I don't know what it is in me, but I'll be reading 6 books at the same time and they're all different subjects. And my friends will come over and they're like, you're not really reading all 6 of those. I'm like, that one I've been reading for a year. I could only get in for a little bit. That one I've been reading for, but it's so true. The learning and the human side of things. I talk a lot with my kids about this, that, their friends are over here and they're all on their phones or their tablets. I'm like, all right, everybody's electronics down. Now you guys got to talk to each other. And no TVs and nothing. And I do think the human side, we're all, we can do things so easy with technology, but it's the human side and the empathy you were talking about that's going to be key in the world today. And I think I love that you brought that up because I absolutely agree.
I love that you read 6 books at the same time. I'm like, I think my version, everybody always freaks out when I share my whole screen and they're like, how many Chrome tabs do you have open? I'm like,
these are my 3 new ones I just got this week. So 3 out, 3 in.
There you go.
I love it. And so, but it's interesting that you say, like, I have some of my very educated, Ivy League educated friends that are not really excited about AI. They're not really excited about technology. So they're not leaning in, not embracing it. So I'm curious, those kind of people that are on the sidelines with AI, they're not going to use it for whatever the reason is. What's your advice for them as they make the decision? Should I do it? Should I not?
I can tell you from the employer's perspective, right now, we have stopped looking at those credentials. We start looking at what projects have you been tinkering with on your own? Can I see them? Which means you actually finish something that people can look at. If you're a coder, we're looking at GitHub repos, public ones, to see what you build. We're looking at how diverse it is. What have you tried? When we talk to you, we want to know what you have broken, what you have failed at. That's what we're looking at, because we're looking for those people that's going to thrive, that can move the organization with them. I have changed my job descriptions. I am not looking for an AI PhD. There's so many jobs. Go look for the job description. There's a lot of head of AI. I'm like, what do you need an AI PhD for? You're not building the actual foundation model. You don't need the AI PhD. Those guys need them. Um, so I will say maybe it hasn't quite hit you yet, but from the employer's perspective, that's what we're looking for. So either you make it on your own with your specifics, but if you want to play in the larger space, this is where it's all going to.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very important to even just try it. The younger generation, that's the norm for them. It is just normal to use it to um younger kids that have just graduated college or studying for big tests, they're using it to test themselves. And so I think it's just going to be the way of the future, and not to be scared, and realize employers are going to want that is so key. Are you someone with a demanding job but tired of the 9 to 5 grind? What if you could build a profitable side hustle without sacrificing your full-time career? Our new partner, Book Profits, can show you how to turn your limited free time into a thriving online business. Learn how to find, sell, and profit from used books, all on your schedule from the comfort of your own home. Not crazy tech skills needed and no major upfront investment, just simple strategies that fit into your busy lifestyle. Visit the URL on the screen for a free training today and learn more. I'm curious. So let's talk 5 years out. 5 years seems like a lifetime away, how fast technology is moving these days. But talk to me about, what do you think? Where are we going in 5 years with AI? And what surprises do you think may come up?
I think 5 years is incredibly hard to project out because of the speed of everything changing. So I'm just going to remind you, ChatGPT launched 2.5 years ago. If you can kind of remember back in your mind, before ChatGPT, that's only 2.5 years. And where we are now. Okay, we're going to go 5 years out. I'm going to be like, right? Okay. So, because when you're reminded, you're like, oh my God, it's only been 2.5 years. Holy. A couple of things, I think. Number one, when we say future of work, that's going to look completely different than what we're used to today. And I'm talking about org charts. I'm talking about how they lead. I'm talking about how teams are formed and what skill sets and what roles. Maybe the titles would have stayed the same, maybe, but for sure, what each role does will have been completely blown out of the waters. That's one. In terms of how people work, I know for sure everybody has an army of agents that's working for them. So you, with the 6 books, each one of them, each topic will be an agent that's off doing something for you, and come back and you'd be like, that's good, not good enough. You got to go try again. Right. That I think will happen in 2 to 3 years. So 5 years, I was like, I don't know what that is. There might be full businesses that's running like this, and you just kind of redirect them every now and then. I think the thing that's easier to predict, so the autonomous driving cars and the robots in our home. These are the two I'm most looking forward to, because I do not like to drive long distance, but I love road trips. Number one. And number two, I'm like, I also do not like to fold laundry or do dishes. Uh, and I think we're going to get to the point where, for certain segment, those robots doing those things for you and making smoothies, you can have them in certain amount of homes. It won't be widespread, but I was like, it's going fast enough that it can definitely show up in that time.
It's interesting in Austin. There's a lot of
The Waymo.
there's like the Waymos, the robot lawnmowers that are working now, which is interesting. But, I did, gosh, it was a few years ago. I did this 1 year without a car thing. And I found it really interesting. Everybody thought I had lost my mind, but the productivity I
Mm-hmm.
had from being in a car and skipping some of the commute was unbelievable to me. So, one of the things I think in 5 years, the work day, the work week, how many hours we're working a day, how many hours we're working a week, I think productivity will go up. Therefore, the need for us to ruminate about, as a recovering perfectionist, I would ruminate over things all the time. Is this good? Good enough? Get it out. I don't have to ruminate anymore on, like when I'm writing emails and I'm using different tools, it'll clean up my writing so I don't have to go reread what I
Yep.
just wrote. Somebody's
Yep.
doing it for me. And so I feel like productivity for me is going to go through the roof, and I'm thinking like my workday is going to be like half if I could get it all organized. But it would be cool, like to your point, having a robot make my lunches. I think that would be amazing, or my smoothies. And
Yeah. Let's
um
just be less tempted to put in all the wrong things. I'm always there, but like, oh, the chips are fine. That should be a little more.
It's true. It's true. And in the fast-paced world of tech that we live, it's like, what's the fastest? What's the quickest? And I think, like, when you said that, I'm like, God, smoothie. Think about how healthy I'd be if I had a robot cooking
I
me
know.
healthy
I was like, I
food.
would totally have a smoothie, but I just don't want to make it.
It's true. And you know what? It's funny that you say that. And that's why I went to a lot of subscription food delivery, because I knew I'd have, 9 meals a week that were healthy and easy to make. And then, so I think it's convenience, it's time efficiency, it's shorter work weeks, it's clearer minds. I know that a lot of the executives and founders I talk to, a lot of them are stressed out, burnt out. And I often question, what area could they use technology to support some of these areas of their life? Like I think of Waymo, like all my friends in LA, they use it to they take a Waymo and it takes away their commute of an hour or more each way to and from work. So
Yep.
yeah, 5 years out is a far way, but I like to think of like back to the Jetsons, back to the Jetsons.
I'm so glad that your inspiration is the Jetsons. I don't know how many times I've heard the Terminator reference. I'm just like, oh my god, guys, there's so many AI. Can you guys stop it with Terminator?
Mine's the Jetson. I think like the spaceship, right? The self-driving spaceship. This was way back in the day, and now we've got the Waymos. So I think it's just how we choose to live our lives, and not to be fearful of technology and change, because there's so many, we're solving cancer with some of these tools. Although I'm not too excited about talking to my insurance company and their bots and AI agents. It's been very frustrating given my last name.
Yeah.
And it's harder, right? But I do think there's so many positives as we move through transformation.
Okay, I totally
I
agree.
want to get in closing kind of, we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. Anything that we didn't touch on, or anything that you want to leave with our listeners?
Um, I always just remind everybody that technology is a tool and an amplifier. It can do everything you want it to do if you focus on using it for how you want to be. So when I hear people say, oh, it takes away your ability to do critical thinking, I'm like, no, it depends on how you use it. You can actually do more critical thinking, strategic thinking if you use the tool in the right way. Oh, it takes away your creativity. This morning I generated 4 different AI songs about vibe coding because I was teaching a class and I thought that would be a fun breakaway, right? I can't write a song to save my life or draw to save my life, but I've been creating art, I've been creating music. So there are tools to unleash every aspect. Focus on what you want to do and find the tools that help you do that. It's across the board that it's there. So don't just kind of fall back, go, oh, that's making it worse. Well, did you make an effort to use it in the way that you want to use it and do things that you never thought before? So that's going to be my first and foremost and final. Is just an amplifier. Use it for how you want it to work for you.
Oh, so good. I love that. I think it's funny that you said art. As an engineer brained person, I'm also not an artiste, but I've been using some amazing tools to
Right.
create artwork. Um, I wasn't too excited about me as a doll in a box, so that one didn't work so great for me as an AI prompt, but it is. I didn't even. I think it's such an amazing. I got to try the music side of it. Maybe I'll create. You've inspired me to write a song. Oh, this has been so fun. I love your insights and all the things you shared with us, different perspectives. Where can listeners go to learn more about Wittingly Ventures and you and connecting with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, so easiest, I'm of course on LinkedIn. You can follow and connect. And Wittingly Ventures is literally wittinglyventures.com. So very easy to connect with me. I also have newsletters, but all of those things get pointed if you connect in one of those ways.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here today. That's the Executive Connect podcast.